Welcome back to the Village Hall from Page to Stage. I am your host, Mr. Matt Ogden. This man right here is Mr. Richard Sykes, the very writer of this musical. And today, Richard,
yes,
we are joined by the fabulous Ned Smith.
He's amazing,
aren't we?
Absolutely.
Ned, we first met, I'm going to say, almost 10 years ago, when we were doing Rent with Woodhouse Musical Theatre Company, who you are doing this very show with.
Indeed.
And that was our first interaction, the first time we'd ever met, and it was the first time I'd got to see Ned Smith in the flesh. I've seen him in the flesh plenty of times since.
I don't want to know. What have you been doing up to then, before Rent?
Tell us about, your history, the history of Ned.
So Rent was only a couple of years after I'd finished uni and come back from uni, and I'd not done any theatre or Amdram or even that much singing when I was at uni.
Wow.
I just didn't really
get
involved in any of it. So I'd come back, and I live in Halifax, so I'd done a few things in Halifax, and then I had got into, I'm going to forget the name, Rock of Ages, with Hayos, because I'd done Cabaret the year before, and two of the people in Cabaret were producing Rent with Woodhouse. Wow. And I'd not come across Woodhouse before, and to be honest, it hadn't really occurred to me to kind of come over and get involved in this area, but they called me up or sent me a message and basically said, we need a man. Because that's what happens in Amdram. And would you consider coming in and just kind of coming to... That was a kind of a workshop-y rehearsal, where I think maybe it was the first get-together of everybody, and we just kind of did a lot of walking around and a bit of everything. And it was just a really nice atmosphere. And so I left the production that I was supposed to be doing and toddled into Woodhouse, which I don't like doing. I'm not advocating that. People shouldn't do that. You should do to what you've committed.
What were you supposed to be doing?
Well, I was in the ensemble for Rock of Ages.
Oh, right, yeah, of course, yeah.
And then they asked me if I'd come and do ensemble for Rent, but there was no ensemble. So I was the male ensemble. Yeah. You were? Which was wonderful.
You were the male.
I was the male. There were some female ensemble, multiple, but I was the male ensemble.
You quite were.
But that was great, because you go from like being a hobo at the beginning to then being like the guy who runs a support group, and then you're in this, and then you're dancing in Contact, and then you're just like, everyone else had one costume, because it happens over the course of like 24 hours. I had 9 costumes.
Yeah. Wow. I had one bloody great jumper and a big scarf, and I was red hot the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time. But everyone was just backstage like, this is so easy, we don't have to costume change, like, I love this show, there's hardly any makeup. And like, where's this, where's that, where's my coat, what am I in next? But it was a great company. Feel in rehearsals. We all had that. It was a nice vibe. I loved the show, and it was the perfect size of cast.
Yeah.
And that was
very intimate.
Yeah, it was intimate.
And the fact that we didn't do it at the Lawrence Batley Theatre.
No, it was the Picturedrome, wasn't it?
It was the perfect kind of venue for it, because it stank a piss as well as what you'd expect the streets of New York City to smell like.
Bohemian New York.
Exactly, yeah.
We were there, transported.
But it was one of those things, wasn't it, where we've talked about this on the podcast a few times, that Woodhouse Musical Theatre Company, who are doing the Village Hall in association with the Lawrence Batley Theatre, Woodhouse have that very kind of welcoming, kind of open presence, don't they? And I felt, as a newbie at the time as well, to that musical theatre scene in Huddersfield, I felt very welcomed, and I felt like as a cast we all got on really well. Yeah. So how does that compare to now with the Village Hall? What's your feelings with the cast? Because it's totally different to anything
I think
we've done before.
It's similar, actually, because that was the lovely thing about coming into a new company, and everyone just seemed to be so nice and get on so well, and it worked so well with the show. And then I've not done the last 3 productions that Woodhouse have done, having stuck with Woodhouse for a number of years and done various different things in different shows, and you kind of get to know the same people. You always meet new people, but you kind of have this kind of core group.
But that was because you've been busy.
Yes. So busy. I haven't fallen out with anyone.
No.
He just gets around like me.
Yeah. Just other things. And other things that I wanted to do, not necessarily be in the cast and do things backstage and all sorts. But then to come into this cast, and we were discussing this the other day, you kind of look round in the room and just like, well, they were the lead in this production, they were the lead in that production, you've been professional, and you're just like, there's this wonderful group of people. And the age range as well. It's one of the things that I like about amateur theatre, and it should be for everybody. Yeah, and you should 100%. Have a big age. You can't always achieve that with the type of show that you're doing, but ideally you want to have representation from the whole community. And I really like that about this show, because there's parts for different people of different ages, different backgrounds. That's the story that you've written, but actually that was reflected in the cast. And so there are some people that I've never worked with before, there are some people that I've worked with once, and then there's some people that I know really, really well, and that's a lovely combination.
So who do you know really, really well, who's familiar to you on the cast?
So Paige, who's playing sort of one of the co-leads, we go back a long way. So when I came back from uni and started doing shows in Halifax again, she was there, and we met whenever that was, 11 plus years ago.
And she was in Rent.
And she came over and did Rent, because so the two of us kind of came together. And
very
literally kind of turned up. And you know, we've lived together at a time, and we've been through a lot, so that's really nice. My partner's in the cast as well, in the ensemble, Chris, which is really nice, and he's sort of, I've never pushed him into it, but he just came along on the journey with me. I just need to get that very clear, because people assume that I've dragged him into this world.
No. He definitely didn't come kicking and screaming, did he?
Not.
Can I just put in an objection? Because Chris auditioned. And maybe because Ned auditioned as well, but Chris auditioned for the same part that we've given Ned. They auditioned for different parts, but Ned didn't audition to be Dave.
No.
Ned auditioned to be the vicar.
You did.
I did.
You did.
And I don't really know why in hindsight, but I think I just liked the song. And thought it was easier to learn. It's probably the honest answer. But Chris, and you know, Chris puts probably a lot more thought up front into these things than I do. But he's a great ensemble member. And he's so expressive. And actually, I think he's got more to do, probably, in the end overall.
We said this right from the beginning, that the company here are just massively
in it.
In the whole thing.
Exactly,
Different characters, different everything. Whereas Dave, I mean, is in and out of cupboards and closets with Di.
Usually the same one, And when I looked at the video for what was set yesterday, and I was like, oh, that'll be me. Oh, that'll be us running into the store cupboard. Yeah, great.
That's the one.
It's so funny when you get into the process of it and just look at a video and you're like, yeah, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Or who you're supposed to be doing.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I know loads of people in the cast from different things, and like I've worked with Ellie and Priscilla, and but I know the production team as well, which is really nice. Kira and I are great friends and have worked together on loads of different things, and share a lot. Neil's been director for most of my Woodhouse shows.
And co-star for Priscilla.
Co-star for Priscilla.
He was also in Rent with us as well.
Yes, he was. It was Collins, wasn't he? And,
it was.
And I've done bits and pieces with him. And then Lauren's choreographed a few shows in Halifax and Huddersfield. So it's a nice kind of mix of people.
Feels like coming home.
It is.
So who are the newbies? Has anyone impressed you particularly on the new cast?
So Niobe is somebody that I watched in By George, and you know, pick her out. Maybe because of her character in By George, you kind of wanted to watch her. But I think she's so watchable and she's so expressive, and she's one of those really annoying people who's professional from day one. So I look at her in a scene and I'm thinking, I'm just trying to like work out what page I'm on in the script. And she's there and she's got the character down, she's got the expression down. Nikki's like that as well.
They don't do things by halves.
They don't do things by halves, and they're what is it? Their computer class.
Silver Surfers.
That's it. Thank you. None of them are silver, so I forget that's what we're calling it. And she's there straight away, just like. And we're literally 5 minutes into the rehearsal now. It's just like, she cracks me up because she just gets this character. So people like that. Sam's great. And Sam I came across...
This is Sam Armitage.
Sam Armitage, sorry. I came across her when she did something in Halifax, and I was kind of involved behind the scenes, but we didn't do the show together, but I got to know her, and I was like, yes, I'd love to do something with her. So
she's incredibly dedicated as well. Just her work ethic. She studies the script while everyone else is gossiping about hemorrhoids and things before the rehearsal takes place. Not you specifically, though. Sam is there with a script in the background, going, "I've got to do this right. This is right." It's extraordinary to watch, and that pervades the whole cast. Everyone has their own sort of work ethic. Patrick, in the same way, has studied the script and knows how the lines should be delivered. It's extraordinary to watch these new ones.
Everyone works in different ways as well, don't they? Like you said that Chris obviously approaches something very like upfront. He's very like forward thinking, going, right, okay, I've got to go do all this kind of stuff. Whereas I would say, as I've performed with you quite a few times, I find that you're very much I'll turn up and I'll kind of work out what I'm wanting to get out of this part through the rehearsal process. And I think sometimes I can be like that as well, where I'll kind of not come with too many kind of
preconceived notions.
Preconceived notions. I kind of want to be in the space, see what everybody else is doing, and see what I can bounce off them. Because if you come with it pre-prepared and you say, I'm going to do it exactly like this, and then the person opposite you, take for example the fact that this is in pairs. If you were trying to do it in a certain way and Ellie as your pair, as Di, is doing it in a totally different way, you have to go back to the drawing board anyway, don't you?
Yeah, and I'd prefer to bounce off, I'd prefer to react. And then in life, people think that I'm probably quite talkative and don't shut up and things, but actually, in life I often sit back. And in a group conversation, like, I'll listen to everything and then I'll kind of put my 2p's worth in. But I'd rather do that in the theatre process. I'd rather kind of work out exactly what's going on, what the director wants here, what the choreographer wants here, what's this scene about, and then I'll reflect on it and kind of work out where my character fits into that and what I want to do with it. And it is very organic. In some ways it is a bit lazy. It is, because I just I think if I've come with a set idea and then it doesn't work, then I've just wasted my time.
No, that's exactly the same thing as what I was saying.
So I would prefer to do that. And the same with kind of my learning process and things. Like, I actually find it really difficult to just sit down and learn lines. Read a script, writing things out, and I'd rather repeat it over and over again and just do it. It is partly that, but I also find it comes naturally at some point, and so I don't need to force it. I don't need to worry about it up front. And your movement and your acting and reacting as well, I find it's better to just kind of try a few things over the rehearsal process, and then you work out what works best with you. And like you say, if you're working opposite somebody, then we'll bounce off each other. And for example, Ellie will often say, I want to do something like this, or I want to do this way. And then like, fine, well, that tells me what I need to do before or afterwards, and that's great. And I'd rather do it that way. I don't like the word organic in the way that I just like feel it as it comes along.
But in the same way, I think you've pointed to it there. If you say that everyone comes to it with that standpoint, then it's harder work. But if you've got a really dominant person like Ellie, who comes with fresh ideas. Last week we interviewed Charlotte, and she's feeding an awful lot of what Louisa is doing, and that partnership is working in the same way. So is that how you're getting along with Ellie? It's
a symbiotic kind of relationship, really, isn't it?
It is, and I think because of their relationship in the show, and there's this secretive thing, and there's this kind of like. They're obviously on exactly the same wave level, but they can't wavelength. Same level, same wavelength.
Not quite on the same level, because you're quite tall and she's tiny.
But there's that as well. So there's that dynamic. So there's like what's going on in their heads. There's what they are and aren't showing people deliberately or not, and then there's the kind of aesthetic dynamic, if I put it like that. And then we were doing the scene the other day, I don't know how much I'm supposed to say, but where we get into the laundry basket.
Yes.
As long as you don't reveal too many spoilers.
So we were like, we're gonna have to flip quicker here, and we're gonna have to like do this quicker, and like we've got to get you on your back quicker, kind of thing. And we were just like, too much time, taking too much time to do this, we need to speed this up. So it's like, because if there are certain things that are actually quite prescribed in a good way, as to kind of this fits in with this dialogue this way, and this kind of music stabs or whatever, that it has to kind of function as a piece.
It's funny that you've just said it's quite prescribed, because last week when we were talking to Charlotte, Richard literally used that word to describe how the stage directions are and how kind of how choreographed it almost needs to be in certain parts.
Because it's a farce.
Because of it being a farce. It needs to be delivered in a certain way.
Yeah.
But with the lines themselves, there's a lot more flexibility, isn't there?
Yes. So, but then there is just certain bits where like this has to fit in here, and I have to say this, and then we do this, and actually I've realised that you get so used in probably amateur theatre when you're not doing an original piece, which is a brand new thing for me. I just get used to ignoring the stage directions that are in the script because nobody ever actually does them because they're written. And then in this, I'm like, oh, it says exactly what I have to do. I better do it, which is really nice actually. But sometimes you're just thinking, I don't understand how this is going to go, and then you're like, oh, it's all written out for me, that's great.
I'm actually a stickler for stage directions. It really annoys me when I do a production and we don't stick to the script. The main reason being, fair enough, within the realms of possibility, if it says something like, and now he does this, which is just just not possible because of the budget.
Flies away.
It flies away. Not about flies through the window.
Oh well, I already did that. So yeah, if it's something that has to be done because it's an iconic element of that.
Yeah.
So for example, I don't know, Legally Blonde, the quick change that they do for Emmett, you have to do that. The way that is written, it has to be done like that.
Yeah.
I find it really irritating when you don't do exactly as it's written, and understand that there's limitations and things like that. But with this, the benefit of doing it for the first time is that, yes, Rich and Maria have written those stage directions, but if it turns out the way that it's being staged, because it's all in the round, and obviously everybody's going to see everything, if it turns out that stage direction doesn't work because, you know, they've maybe, you know, not thought of, oh, well, that character's going to be off doing something else. It can just be rewritten on the fly, can't it? It can be tweaked
Red
as it
pen,
needs to be.
straight through.
Yeah,
exactly
that bit didn't work, wrong character, or, oh, no, that would work if we did it in a different way.
But the majority of them you've written with everything that we're doing in mind, and the setting, and whereas, you know, you'll get a script that's a professional script, basically. It's been written for a professional production, and then you get it, and you're like, well, you're not going to be able to do that in, you know, Halifax Playhouse.
No.
But as the MD, you've taken scores and you've had to work them, so you know the feeling, don't you?
I've done that far too many times, really. And again, probably shouldn't really say too much because you're probably not allowed to do it. But there are certain things that you get as, you know, when you're production team, and you're just like, what is this? I can't use that. The first thing that I ever did was Fame. I MD'd Fame a long time ago. And there's like an optional Act 2 opener.
Yes.
And you get it and it's handwritten in like B major or something. And I got it and I gave it to the pianist and he went, I can't read that.
No.
And I was like, okay, I better write that out then.
There we go.
That gives me a job to do. So there's things like that where you have to rework it.
It is staggering how flexible you have to be with some professional scripts.
Oh yeah.
And when we came to Boogie Nights, the parts arrived and they were wrong.
Yeah.
They were in the wrong key for the instruments.
I heard James said that there was a chord written that didn't exist.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So I was like, okay.
So
how does that work?
It's insane, but it's with this process and the fact that you are starting from scratch, anything like that comes up very early because you've already seen the parts, you've already seen the players, you know who's going to be doing that part, and so you can adjust as you go through, which I think is what Ned's saying.
Yeah. And it's refreshing to have that that ability and not feel kind of guilty about it or like you're doing something wrong.
No, absolutely not.
Which I have done in the past.
So that brings me quite nicely on to asking you about your favourite line in the show, because obviously we know that quite a lot of the lines they're adaptable. But what's your favourite line that you've currently either yours or someone else's line that really sticks out to you?
That's a really good question.
It's also a really unfair question because, to be honest, Dave doesn't have that many lines.
Yeah,
there's a lot of singing.
Yours is a lot
of
physical comedy.
A lot of physical stuff. Yeah, but really, lines-wise, I remember when we came to the read-through, I felt really guilty. I brought Gareth Cole across, and he's had to travel a huge distance to play Dave. And he had 3 lines. It was appalling. So I made sure we beefed up that part. It was one of the main things I took out from that first read through. So at least you benefited from that. But there aren't many.
No, there aren't many. And it's the hardest thing is not to kind of forget what you're doing when you don't have a line, and you like and then don't show on your face that you're thinking how many pages away.
Because you're reading everyone else's lines in the back of your head, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're going, I'm about to speak in 2 pages' time.
yeah. About to speak in 2 pages' time, so what am I doing in the meantime? Yes, there is a bit of that, and I think one of my favourite lines is, and I can't think what it is, but it's what Joan says to Ken in the creative writing class.
Yes.
Which you'll tell me exactly what it is now.
I can try. Well, Ken has just presented his creative writing opus, which is called Voids.
Yeah.
And he's done it very, very straight-laced, like a performance of Richard III. Voids, and it's an awful poem. It's deliberately terrible.
Yeah.
And she says, can I offer you a word of constructive criticism? And he says, well, of course. And she says, it were crap. and she's going to deliver it so straight. Is that the line you're on about?
Yeah, but there's another little monologue that she's got as well where
she has, she's also talking about the presence of lots of females in amateur theatre and not so many men. And it draws back to what you were saying earlier about Rent, you being the only one there. And she has this line about, have you forgotten about Seven Brides for Two Brothers?
Yeah.
And then gives him the V sign as well. So there's a lot of Jones lines that you probably enjoy.
I've fudged that question out now because I can't pick a single line. But I mean, because the other thing that happens after the Voids poem is that someone comes back in, I should know who it is, shouldn't I? And says, what have I missed? And Louisa as Jenny goes, Voids! And I love that. It's just the whole bit
That
together.
bit's delivered by Mel.
I love that.
And then I think any line delivered by Mel is immediately iconic.
Yeah.
I've no idea how she does it, but her comic timing is so good and her delivery is so rich and ripe that she nails them all.
Yeah.
And it's written for her, so why not?
But I love that bit where they're in the Stitch and Bitch Knit and Natter and then get asked to join the group by the vicar, so they do, and then they're just like, right, we're going to attack you now. Yeah. And there were just these little exchanges and they're just...
Jenny says, Joan, bring me readers. I'm going to be able to see much, but I can spot a pillock at 40 paces. And it's directed straight towards Ken. Bless.
And then there's a poem and then she tells him it's crap. And then, it's that bit is my favourite bit.
And it's, it was such a funny rehearsal. I mean, we've got it on video, just how much hilarity there was in that particular session. But I think all the rehearsals, especially for the dialogue, because you're exploring the lines and finding the funnies, and Neil's adding extra bits to make it more funny, it's just been so good.
Yeah, and I like working with Ellie on that because Ellie's my lines are not funny. None of my lines are funny.
Ones,
which is it's the character, really, isn't it? Because they don't really get it.
Yeah.
But it's Di's lines that are funny, and so those are some magical bits in rehearsals because we've just got those little moments that...
Have you ever done a show like that where you've had to be effectively part of a pair, where you've got to really bounce off someone else
proper
specifically?
Double act.
Double act,
No, I don't think I have.
You're not?
I don't think it's something that happens that often.
It's not as common. Especially with this, it's multiple double acts.
Yes. I'll tell you the reason for that. It's about it being such a large cast and having so many characters. It was actually easier to think of them as pairs. So Joan and Jenny don't exist without each other. And same with Dave and Di.
Very codependent.
Very codependent. And so you can consider them basically as one character, as one plot line that's carrying on. Not lots of different plot lines. And that simplifies things while putting an enormous amount of people on that stage. And I think it's going to be a problem when people come to watch the show. I think they're going to need to, if people come on an early show, I think the impetus will be to come and see it again, but to sit on the opposite side of the stage.
A different feel.
As Ned alluded to earlier, there are people doing so many bits, like Niovi's doing one thing at one side, Nikki's doing another thing at another side, Wiz is on a different planet at the other side.
I can imagine.
And you've got amazing people doing lots of different things. To spot it all in one sitting, it's going to be impossible.
You need to watch it through a fisheye lens.
That's right. It contributes to the chaos.
And there will be some things like, I think this is a plan. If it isn't, then we need to make it happen. But in the chair aerobics thing, Wiz is going to be on a smaller chair than other people. And like there are things like that which in itself are just funny. And I would want to watch him for plenty of that scene because I think it'll just be hilarious him trying to do the chair aerobics on a smaller, like that in itself, and that's just one tiny thing.
There are some inherently funny people in this play. I've mentioned Mel, but I've got to mention Colin, and Jess as Freya is going to be just... people aren't going to be able to forget these performances, and they're tiny, but these little moments will be what makes it makes it stand out. It's going to be a unique show.
You've done one like that
recently
as well.
Have I?
Yeah, when we did Addams Family.
Oh, yeah.
Of
Ned
course.
played Lurch.
Yes.
Lurch obviously only has one line right at the end and a few grunts here and there.
16 bars of singing.
That was it, yeah. So, and it's one of those parts where you are constantly in the background. You're not really, you're not really the main sort of thing that's on the stage.
No.
But you absolutely are essential because people expect it, especially with something like an IP like Addams Family, where everybody knows about that. With this, the thing is, nobody knows about it. No. So they're going to, unless they've been watching the podcast or they've been having a look or they went for the auditions, everyone's going to turn up there. And from the moment that they can't get into the Village Hall, everybody is going to be like, what the hell is going to happen here?
Yeah.
And I think that's the point, right? Is that the reason why we think people are going to want to come multiple times is so that they can see these different plot lines and things that are happening in real time on that stage in a very open setting, with it being in the round.
Yeah.
Have you ever performed in the round before?
Never performed in the round. Really looking forward to it actually, because I think it was slightly terrifying at the beginning. Sure. But actually, it gives you freedom. It does. Because there are so many times when you're on stage where you're like, why am I walking like a crab?
Yes.
Or, why am I not allowed to turn around? Because you would. And there are, different directors have very different thoughts about certain things like that, like turning you back to the audience and things. Whereas, like, you don't have that. So actually, whilst in some ways it's more complicated, and I think people will just be waiting to see who's coming on from where in certain bits, it gives you a bit more freedom because you don't have to worry about that.
I absolutely agree. And you can understand why I thought it had to be in the round from the off. Yeah.
They're going to see the same show, but in a totally different way.
Very different. Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait to see people's reaction to seeing what is a spectacle on that stage. And especially people who are looking at it from above, because I don't know if you've noticed Lauren's choreography. She's doing it with that sort of Busby Berkeley. You can see what's going on from above, and she's doing it in lots of lovely patterns for the people who are watching it in tier 2. Yeah. It's extraordinary.
But I actually think that's great, like even the yoga thing at the beginning and and the bits where the committee are kind of surrounded by these people who are suddenly about to, could turn against them at any moment, and then coming through them and that kind of thing. There's lots of circles and squares. And
lots of levels too.
And that really works. And that actually, I mean, ask a choreographer or a director, but I would have thought that frees you up to do different things. Whereas usually you're like, I have to have everything in lines, parallel lines or whatever. And I think that's great.
Semicircles. And like that.
Yeah.
Can I tap your experience as a musical director for a moment and see how would you approach a brand new score?
I mean, the wonderful thing about that is, again, the whole thing, no expectations and no kind of set thing. So I MD'd Grease a couple of years ago. I think that's why By George it was about the same time. And of course, I had a cast of over 50. And obviously everyone's done Grease on karaoke. Yeah. So they have their own version, whether they realise it or not.
Oh, Grease like when you're burning up a quarter.
And
that isn't necessarily as it's written.
Yeah, and I've just, it's just, so that was interesting. It was great because everyone knew the words. I didn't have to teach lyrics. No. They were there. But I had to pull everybody back from what they thought they should be singing.
This is what We Will Rock You's going to be like. Because everybody has their preconceived idea of how to sing Bohemian Rhapsody and how to sing Radio Gaga.
Absolutely.
And how to sing everything.
And you have a favourite version that you copy. Yeah. And the last show that I did was Sweet Charity, and it was a very similar thing. And I'm like, do not listen to that version, do not listen to that version. Yeah. The lead was like, can I learn this version? And I'm like, no, it's in the wrong key. Right. So you've got
But you've got Rhythm of Life, you've got Big Spender, there are some real heavy-hitting numbers in there.
Yeah. But then a lot of unknowns. Yeah. So in that sense, then I just start from scratch. So what I do sort of on a regular basis is with choirs, and that's my background, is choral singing. So you just note bash and you just take it bit by bit and build it up. And I think the best thing to do is kind of let people run with it a little bit, and you just teach them the bones and teach them basics, and then let people kind of develop their own way with it.
And pull them back if you need to.
Yeah. And it's all, for me, it's all about kind of picking your battles. Because there are certain things that you might creatively, stylistically, technically want to be in there, but people will never do, like short notes and long notes, and where does this come off, and what, there are certain things that people are never going to do what you want them to do, so you just let them do what they're doing. But then there are certain things where you can be militant about it,
and even if they do it perfectly when you're note bashing, the minute that they get out of that singing rehearsal, you've got to rely on, did that go in their heads? Are they going to remember that? Because then when we get into blocking it and setting it, are they going to default to, I'm just going to sing the tune because I can't remember? I know I'm guilty of that sometimes. And then when I try and get towards the rehearsal, at the end of the rehearsals and get into the theatre, I go, what did we learn about 7 weeks ago?
That's another problem with rehearsing musicals is the time. I mean, they take so long to rehearse because you've got to get the music, you've got to get the dancing, then you've got to get the acting, and it all layers together. But it takes 2-3 months, and by the time you start with the musical rehearsals, so the thing you forget most likely by the time the floor rehearsals start is your harmonies, which is a shame. But not in your case, because you. No, I mean let's face it. You've got an incredibly good musical theatre background. You've done MDing for shows, so you know what you're doing in terms of harmonies.
Yeah, and choral, like I said, is kind of my thing. So, and that's what I find easiest to learn and kind of goes in. But I also approach it from a more kind of technical or theoretical perspective, because I look at what's on the page and. Even when I'm in show week, sometimes I am thinking in my head of what is on the page.
The visual.
I am looking at a piece of music in my head. So, and I'm following, and that's what I'm following. So, like, it's not that I know that this is this and this is that. I'm thinking, oh, that's a B, and then we're changing, we're modulating C major or whatever. Like, that's what's sometimes going on in my head.
I thought you would be. I knew you probably would be, but I am thinking more, how am I feeling as a performer? If it feels like I'm hitting the note right and I'm also acting right, I feel like that's my default setting. Does it feel like I'm doing it right in my own body, rather than thinking about the notes? And I think I talked about this with my singing teacher before, Esme, who was playing Rosalie in School of Rock.
School of Rock?
Yeah, I'm doing it again. Surprise! The idea of when you're trying to hit a note, not going up to it, but sitting on it and going, this is where it comfortably lands in your register. I think that's how I would approach it, as more of an actor singer rather than someone who knows the theory behind it.
I don't know if you agree with this, Ned. I think it depends upon your route to the stage. If you've come 100%. Via a choral approach, then you naturally lean on what you feel most comfortable doing. So if you feel most comfortable singing, that's the approach you take. And if it comes to having a score in your head, going, what's that? And is that note right? And so forth. Then that's the approach you take. And some people have obviously come through the dance approach. So they're then thinking, right, what's the count of 4 and where are we on the stage? And it does lead to these fantastic contrasting styles, especially in something like the Village Hall, which demands all 3. You have to do all 3 in this one. You cannot just be a singer. You can't just be an actor. You have to have a dance or an appreciation of movement to get this whole thing. It's a weird one, isn't it?
And that's coming back to being in the round as well, because you're like, there is nowhere to hide.
Nope.
So
you're
in
not just a
way,
dancer who's about to come on, do a tap number and go off.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And
or
there
if
are
you
some
are,
things,
everyone's going to see you.
Yeah, and there are some things already we've gone, like, let's not do that. If it goes wrong, it's going to go really wrong and it's going to look awful. But so let's just, do whatever. But I think Sexy Dynamite's a good example of the kind of the singing thing, because we have some quite close harmony in that song. And so you're learning stuff separately. And then when you sing it together and you do things, you kind of realise like, oh, actually, Ellie's doing something on that note, I'm doing something on that note. You put in a bit of accent of, the feeling, the emotion, whatever it is, because it's the sexiness of it. There's like, Ellie's really good at kind of picking up on some notes and just putting in a bit of like a growl or whatever it is to just give it a bit of oomph, and you're like, oh well, that I'm gonna give that a bit more oomph and that kind of thing. So that's one of those things where, like, as much as I think I know where it is on the page and what I should be doing, sometimes actually it just changes.
It's allowing yourself to be creative and have a bit of fluidity with it, rather than just be like, oh, I need to rigidly perform these exact notes exactly as they're written.
Absolutely. The one thing about this show is it should be funny. And if you try and prescribe that via the music, it doesn't work. Some people are going to have to speak lines in order to make them funny rather than sing them. It's the way comedy songs should work.
Yes, and therefore from that point of view with the music, I think if I were the MD, then you just kind of let that happen. You've got to let that evolve.
Yes, as opposed to saying, no, you've got to sing this. That's not Kira's way anyway.
No,
she's going to say, no, that's funny. Go with it.
Do with it,
Because one of the people that finds this show funniest is Kira. She's been an incredible audience for everyone because she will crack up.
Yeah, she does.
In the rehearsals. It's brilliant to watch. Are you enjoying it though, Ned? Are you glad you chose it?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad actually that that I'm playing Dave, because it was not really on my radar. Probably the least, the one that I would have gone for.
The last one.
The last on the list.
Yeah.
When I was auditioning, but actually it really works. It's a really nice part, and one of the nice things is because he doesn't say a huge amount all the time. Sometimes you are just like enjoying what's going on around you.
You can get to watch
like,
it.
I don't really need to stress about this scene. I'm just having a lovely time.
We've got to ask you what your favourite song is from the show, because we've done it to everyone.
Yeah. It has to be Sexy Dynamite.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it has to be, and people keep saying that to me as well, and so I'm like, actually, it's really nice. And again, with the character and things, to just kind of break out and have that song where it's just like, but I really like Winter Sun, which might be an unpopular choice, but I really like Winter Sun.
Yeah, it's been quite popular, to be fair.
Okay.
So, Text Me Sexy Dynamite, obviously your song with Ellie, Winter Sun, one of Paige's songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's two very contrasting pieces.
Different, yeah.
So what is it about Text Me Sexy Dynamite that wins out as your favourite? Obviously you're doing it, but tell us about it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You can kind of sing it without it needing to be kind of technically perfect and that kind of thing. Like we're saying, like there are some moments where we're just kind of doing slightly silly things, and I love the bit in the middle where it goes off into the greenhouse chat.
I think we've discussed this on Ellie's part. The filthiest part of the show is this innuendo laden section in the middle, whereby they're not just line dancing, they're not just dating, but there's also a Chilean bloom class happening, and so it's referenced in the song, and every single one of them is a ridiculous innuendo.
Yeah.
Should we stake it in the bed if it's tall? Would it be better up against the wall? Come to the potting shed and strut your stuff, or we can prick out and harden off. It's foul.
There it is.
It's absolute. Oh no! Then you've got to find the clematis. So
fork it slow and sit back and watch it grow.
Yeah.
I often do.
And I think the weird thing, we've only done it a couple of times, but we're like on opposite sides of the stage, facing completely different directions, so there's absolutely no connection between us at that point.
Apart from the texting.
Apart from the texting, which is perfect, and that again it is like, so you can just have fun with that.
Oh, I loved watching, and Neil's choreography of that. I know it's Lawrence as well, but just the ideas that they were firing off each other about, and then you loop around each other and don't notice each other because you're lost in your phones. It's a very good social comment.
It is a very good social comment, but it's just, and you get from the first bar the dun 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 dun, and it just it's nice that riff. Feel, and then a great ending as well.
There you go.
Great climax.
Speaking of great climaxes, shall we end our podcast?
We shall. So, that was the Village Hall from Page to Stage. This man right here was Ned. That man right there was Richard. And if you want to see Ned strut his stuff on that big stage in the round with Ellie and with everybody else, then what you can do is you can scan this QR code that's over Ned, and that's going to take you where, Richard?
It's going to take you to the LBT website. It's called thelbt.org. If you don't want to scan Ned, then just go to that website, and you can order your tickets and enjoy the show. But also, if you want to find out a little bit more, you can come to my website, richsykes.com. You can also subscribe to this podcast, this wonderful venture. There are so few left now. Exactly. There's about 6 left to listen
Plenty to catch up on before the show starts as well. So you can find them on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast.
And on YouTube. Go to my channel there.
Richard Sykes YouTube channel. And you can also follow us on the Instagram at The Village Hall Musical. But that's all for today from us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Sykes. Thank you, Ned. Absolute pleasure to have you. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.